Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Family EV podcast. I am regular EV dad, also known as John. With me, as ever, is Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Surviving, it doesn't change. But let's get this out of the way, friend. If you were listening to this on the audio podcast, you're not going to get this, but did you not tip the barber last time? That's a pretty severe haircut, my friend. I mean, you're too old to be going into the Marines.
I took the discounted rate.
The discount that is high and that is tight, my friend. That is high. That is quite the thing. We won't go into the. We're not going to talk about the reasons for it, but just what are we like for? What's the date now? We will see each other in person, physically, in a month, my friend. This is you'll have to wait. We're not telling anyone what it's about, but you'll see this in December. But life's treating you well.
Yeah, pretty good. I finally got those the rest of that Montana trip uploaded over the last couple weeks, and it's nice to be caught up on editing for the most part.
Yeah, I'm miles behind, unfortunately. The real world has taken over, and I've been doing something called traveling that we used to do, which is, by the way, if you see the video version of this, yeah, this is what I look like when I've just come off. The only sleep I had was 3 hours sleep on the plane. This is how bad it gets without makeup. Trashed is the word. I am trashed, but an amazing week. I'll tell you about that in a few minutes. But yeah, I saw your I saw your trip. Was 2,300 miles in 3 days. I mean, bit weak, my friend. 2,300. I mean, seriously,
Yeah, technically, I think on our Vegas trip we had more miles on the way out there in less time than this one, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you had a few.
We actually got hotels on this trip, so that was the upgrade.
Oh, that's nice. So, hey, and he had all manner of issues with chargers. So I'll put a link to the video in the show notes, and it's well worth watching. It really is. I will. I had a short notice road trip, and some of you may be pleased. I will get this one done quite quickly because there's no travel in it. So I had to help out Mrs. Well, I didn't have to, I wanted to. So last weekend, I went to LA and back in a day. It wasn't quite a day because I didn't leave here until Northern California, San Jose, until 4 in the afternoon. And I found a new way of sleeping called camping in the car, which is not something I like doing, but I also needed to charge to get back. And so I found a Walmart with chargers, green lot, regular, 6 kilowatt chargers. You're not allowed to park overnight, in that particular Walmart, but you can charge. So the ridiculous situation, I had all sorts of problems. I had problems with somebody who didn't want me to charge in a place that's received federal money and is open 24/7, and they refused to let me on the property. I'm dealing with that in the background. But yes, I charged. I deliberately drove the battery down. I drove very hard between two chargers to get the battery down to the point where I could guesstimate. Been doing this too long now. I knew how long a 6 kilowatt charger would take to bring the battery up, so my alarm would go off as we hit 100%, and I could then go on with my day. But it was a great trip, and I took a dog down south for my wife to help her out, and I got home in time to go trick or treating. So that was a success. Hey, should we? If we get onto the car thing, one thing I have to mention, I don't have to, I want to. So as if I don't have enough things in my life, I have finally created a website for my alter ego, British John, the comedian. And you can find that at British John, that's Jon, just BritishJohn.com. And I mentioned that because I was in Austin on Monday on the Kill Tony podcast, which is actually a comedy show, and it's kind of weird and it's its own thing. Tony has his own special on Netflix. He was one of the major comedians in the last 10 years to come out of the Comedy Store, one of the last to be passed, as we call it, by Mixie. And I did his show on Monday, and if I do say so myself, I killed. It was, I was very confident going into this, but I was actually invited back to their secret show in Austin on Thursday night, last night, which is why I'm so tired right now for some strange reason. It's almost like I've only had 3 hours sleep. But yeah, I will be pimping. There's no two ways about it. Pimping the show as soon as it will air. It won't air next week. It'll wait the week after that. So it's like the 15th of November. However, if you want to see British John in action, I have a lot of shows coming up in Salt Lake City on the 13th. Is it the 12th? Oh, I should get this right. I should get this right, Joe. Wise Guys, Salt Lake City on the 12th. I will be the feature. At Ha-Ha's in LA, in Hollywood, on the 13th. We're doing 2 shows there. I'll be the feature, one host on the other one. And then 1 show on Sunday the 14th in San Diego at the American Comedy Club, American Comedy Company, which is in the Gaslight district. I'm supporting Kabir Singh, who's the guy from AGT, and you've seen him on the video, so he'll be there as well. Follow me on Twitter at regular EV Dad. I will be doing some ticket giveaways. So yay. But anyway, put something in the comment if you want to come. All right, Joe, enough prattling around. Oh yeah, and I'm doing a gig at home, San Jose Improv on the 19th of December. And that's it. I'm not doing anything else this year. Oh well, that's not strictly true. I know I'm going to do something else. I just haven't got permission from my wife. What can I say, Joe? I'm going to be in Los Angeles with you. I've already got permission to be away, and there's 2 of my favorite clubs happen to be around the corner. I'm sure something will happen. All right, let's get into things. All Lucid. Big week for them. They started delivering vehicles.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to finally see cars on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, I think they only delivered, was it 10 of them or 12 of them?
It was a handful. I've seen more prototypes. I've actually seen more of their prototypes recently. So I saw one on my way to the airport the other day.
This was the Dream Editions, which are quite pricey.
Little bit. But they are nice. I mean, they're a competitor to the Mercedes S-Class. They're very nice places to be. My kid didn't need to go to college. We used the fund.
That's the car that I would have. If I could have any of the high-end luxury sedans, that's the one I would take.
I understand that. I really do. It's a lovely place to be. You know, they've got the range. I will, and I'm sorry, I have to make a joke about this, but it is truly 400 miles of range, right? That's it's real life 400 miles of range. I know they had the guys from Motor One took one without charging from LA all the way to San Francisco, and they took it a long way along the coastal road, and then they made it to the East Bay. So that's 400 miles and change. Here's the thing, Joe. My bladder can't go more than 240 miles. I gotta pee. I mean, don't get me wrong. My wife is actually part camel, but I have to actually part of driving long distance, there's times like you know, when I so a quick recap of the trip just from LA. I left it. I had to get to San Bernardino Forest, a park near there. That was where I was heading. I left the house and I drove to Harris Ranch. So Harris Ranch has reopened. It's got 6 Electrify America chargers, now all running at full speed. It had 6 before, but they were limited to 50 because they didn't have enough power to actually go beyond that. Now it's got the conventional, you know, 2 350s and everything else is 150 in a single channel. Took me 2 hours and 10 minutes to get there. And then I charged up and I had primary up. It was good. And in fact, I put a post about this. And so I charged to 100%, which I wouldn't normally do. But you know what? It was prime rib. And it was dinner time. And it wasn't a bad thing to actually stop for 27 minutes. The next charge was what I would call a micro charge in somewhere near Pasadena. I can't remember where it was, Bonds. And I literally ran in, got a snack, used the restroom, and charged for like, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. And that was it. I don't think that's a huge issue. And then that got me into northern LA, which is not that distant for what they were doing. I don't, you know, I worry that these big batteries are, you know, going to be the displacement, you know, oh, I've got 200 kilowatts of power. I know my wife won't go near anything substantial until she can do 300 miles on a charge, because she's mentally limited in that way. However much I get her to drive mine. But the other vehicle that was which was seen delivery, and it not as big, was the Rivian truck. And I actually saw one. I will have some footage of them. I actually saw one coming over the grapevine on the way home. It was white from memory, and it was actually delivered. I know this because it had a paper plate. It did not have a dealer or a manufacturer plate on it. It had a conventional DMV temporary paid tag. So I did wonder if this person would stop at Shell Country Market, which is sort of the first Electrify America charger after the grapevine, but I was there for about 15 minutes to charge up and use the restroom. At the end of the year, Joe, we're going to have an award. In fact, tell you what, readers, we haven't talked about this, but we're going to put a poll out. We're going to put the poll on we'll put it on both of our channels. So there's JKEV and Regular EV Dad. And the poll, we're going to take nominations for the worst bathroom in proximity to an Electrify America charger. I'm sorry, Electrify America, this isn't your fault. I'm sure there's something about, you know, terms about, you know, condition of facilities and things like that, but we'll let that pass. But I really did think that Pinoche Shell, which is just north of Harris Ranch on 5, would have had a pretty good go at winning this one, because it's an outside toilet on farmland covered in flies in the heat of summer. It was as much fun as you can imagine. But goddamn it, Joe.
I have a nomination for that award.
Really? What would yours be?
So just outside of Lake Tahoe, so to the south of it, I can't remember what the name of the charger was.
It's called Tahoe.
It was at a Shell station behind the gas station, and while charging, I went to go in, and they did not let me use the bathroom unless I bought an item from the convenience store or gasoline. And I'm like, well, I'm out back charging at the chargers on your property, and they did not allow. And I even looked up PlugShare, and they said many other people said they had the same experience, which I would be interested to see if Electrify America knows that practice is going on over there.
Well, now
being
hold
that
on.
they
You
have the
said
property.
now hold on. You said a Shell
I believe it was a Shell. I will confirm.
because the one in Tahoe.
It's not in Tahoe. This is like an hour and a half south. Like it was the last stop that I had before I got to Tahoe.
I'm trying to see where you were. I'm looking at all the DC fast chargers in the area. Save Mart, Truckee Rail Yard, Rayleigh's, Save Mart. The shops at Heavenly Villages must be the only one.
Bridgeport. That's the one. Bridgeport, California.
First of all, and not for nothing, my friend, no one could even consider that to be basically even part of California, but okay, let alone anywhere near Tahoe.
It was my last stop I had before I made it to Tahoe. So
wow, that is one of the that's one of the more remote. That's one of the more remote. But wow, it heavily used as well. That's an interesting one. It's got. I'm just looking at the sheer volume of check-ins that it's had of late.
I think if you're coming from Yosemite or
it is. It's
Vegas.
Basically it's how you. It's on 395, what we call the forest route. If you're coming out of Kings Canyon, Deathbed Valley, and all those places. Interesting. So anyway, we will. So here's what we need. We need, and we'll tweet it. We'll put it on Facebook and stuff. We need your nominations, and then we will do a poll. If you have photos, then we'll find some way of you communicating those to us. But yeah, worst, and then because there's an award, best bathrooms for an Electrify America. And we're not doing this with Electrify America's sanction. I'm still on their crap list for putting stickers on their things. And thank you to the two people who over the past 2 weeks have also sent me messages on PlugShare telling me that I'm an active vandal. I'm sorry. It was more than 6 months ago. All right. I've not done it since. My God. Things people.
See, I thought that would be a great idea. That'd be a great way to beautify the Electrify America chargers more with everyone putting their stickers on them. Could have been a trend started and got shot down.
It did. It shut down. I'm trying to think which is the nicest. The thing, one of the issues with Electrify America is quite often they're in they're not in service locations. That Shell at Bridgeport is kind of an anomaly in its own right. The fact that it's actually at a gas station. It's countrywide. It was the countryside one on 5 is a gas station, as is Pinoche. I'm trying to think of a positive one.
Trying to think what my favorite Walmart is. I guess is what that's going
to. I'm trying to avoid Walmarts. That's my point. Is because the Walmart's a Walmart.
Right. Exactly.
You know what? We're just going to make it.
Green River is a good one. That little coffee shop.
That gets the award for weirdest toilets.
That is true.
I think that would be unanimous. The weirdest toilet. It is hippie chic, and I can't remember what the little sign said, but it was very cute. Very twee, for want of a word. All right, we're going to take the Electrify America bit out of it. We want to know your best, your worst, and your weirdest bathrooms for DC fast chargers. And the reason why I'm taking EI out of it is because my personal nomination, just off the top of my head, and I will have to think further on this, but I would have to give the best, just full best rest stop with chargers. Oh, I'm torn now. I'm torn. See, I would have said the truck stop at I-80.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, and I've charged there. I just did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was such a good stop. But I also
it's expensive quick over there though.
Oh, it's not a cheap charge. It's not a cheap. It's actually, the thing is, we should. So there was a topic we weren't going to talk about because I said don't talk about it, which was free charging. We'll come to this in a minute. And I said we don't talk about free charging because it's a marketing tool. It's not free. There's a cost to it, and I work in marketing, so this is my kind of thing. It's not. They're charging the same price for electric as Electrify America charge if you actually have to pay. So anyone with a Chevy
without
Bolt,
the membership, yeah.
everybody with a Chevy Bolt pays that price. You're not special.
But with any logic, if you were going on a road trip, it would behoove you to sign up for the membership, go on your road trip, cancel the membership after the road trip if you don't regularly use DC fast charging. Because in one charge, you pay for the monthly membership, I believe, if my math is right.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that because that's one of the things that came up on the Tesla thing. So let me make my other nomination for. I apologize for the background noise. I got a new phone, and I'm setting it up before I go to. Before I go off and see Mrs. Regular EV up in Napa. If any of you single and got girlfriends, if you go away for 4 days to Texas and you leave your partner with the kid for those 4 days, while you're working, yes, I did do 2 comedy shows, but I also spoke at a security conference, which I had to because that's how we pay the bills around here. Make sure you're taking it to Napa for the weekend afterwards. That's the only way you get through this. My other one, and I gotta say, Harris Ranch was awesome. I mean, I don't fundamentally understand that place. It is great steak. We'll call it. I'm not getting into farming standards and animal husbandry today. I can rant about that for a lifetime, but it's old school, and it was a really good dinner. It was a substantial dinner. It didn't come off off a steam table. The bathrooms are huge and clean. The charging was good. There is a bad charger there. Unit 3 was having a bad day. I was using 4, but PlugShare saved me. You can read about that and see what I mean in the video. But yeah, that was, much as I love I-80, and I love that because it was so kitsch and just thing. Harris Ranch is going to. So we need your nominations for best, worst, and weirdest DC fast charger service locations, and we will have an awards ceremony as such at the end of the year. That'll be our Christmas special. Okay, my friend.
Sounds like a plan.
We'll get to tweeting this out in a few after we've recorded. Let's get into some actual. We don't do news. Not everyone. We obsess over this stuff, and then we filter out the things we find interesting to talk about. So. The Tesla supercharger is being opened up to other vehicles. That was interesting. What is it? They're piloting this with 10 superchargers in
Norway or Netherlands. You're right. That's correct.
I do think somebody commented they think that Norway is going to be doing this as well, and I think there's some incentives for them to do that. However, I'm very clever. So you basically download the Tesla app, even if you're doing an ID4 or whatever vehicle. You pull up to the charger. You tell the app which one you're at. You plug in and you charge. And from naturally every YouTuber that had a CCS capable car started driving to Netherlands. Our I always get his name.
ID4 Firkin.
That's the one.
Yeah.
If I get that wrong, I get it wrong in a really bad way. Was there almost immediately from what I can tell, and it charges up in excess of 100 kilowatts, which is what you want. And the pricing, if you take the pass, is comparable with Ionity, which is good. The only downside to this, depending on Tesla's all charge off the back left, off the back driver's side. That is not the situation with our cars. Our cars and Tesla cables are actually pretty short. They were designed for Teslas.
Yep, they are definitely the shortest you'll encounter. And there's only one cable, whereas EA puts two on there to help adapt for that.
Yes, that's all that second cable's there for. Isn't that right, Karen in Portland? John, let it go. It'll get you to. No, it spurs me to greater fury. But you know, and so there are some cars, you know, because they said they don't want people to block chargers. They've put in place charging to make sure people don't idle. But what are your thoughts, my friend?
I'm a huge fan of them opening up the network, and I think I've always kind of had the hunch that at some point EA would return the favor, and these CHAdeMO plugs would eventually become Tesla plugs at some point. So I kind of think it makes sense to offer it. I do see the issue though with that many chargers, at least around here that are Tesla, are all back-in units. So when there's F-150 Lightnings, those things are going to block 4 spots to charge. Our ID4 and e-trons and what else, Mustang Mach-E's, those all use side chargers that would have to block a couple spots to even get close enough. So unless Tesla plans on when they're, because I guess they're going to have to put some sort of a plug onto these units to get it to work, right, for over here, or some sort of adapter. Maybe that adapter will just be long enough to kind of remedy that situation.
I have my doubts on that. I don't think Tesla wants to go into the very long adapter business. I think there's going to be, you know, at some point they're going to have to compromise or redesign their chart. You know, they might do something. It depends what business they want to be in. You know, I see it as, you know, selling electricity is very good for them in this situation. Pardon me. But it's not core to the, it's core to the business, but also what's the word I'm looking for? It's not if this helps them build out their network, that's a good thing. It's good for everybody. You know, they've said there might be an adapter over here. They're doing an adapter to allow, they've already released it in Korea, to allow Teslas to use CCS chargers instead of CHAdeMO, up to, I think it's just in excess of 100 kilowatts. But we will see. I think part of this, you know, the testing it with 10 of there, I'm sure it has nothing to do with the federal EV credit money and infrastructure bill that should pass in the next 10 days or so. I'm sure it has absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Well, there's some rumors I've actually heard that now that Tesla's selling, if you notice, they're selling their J1772 at-home charger as well, and quite reasonably priced, if I had to. That some people are thinking Tesla might, even though I think everyone can unanimously agree the Tesla plug is better than the CCS plug, hands down. They're thinking that Tesla might start considering adapting to the CCS plug just to open up the charging networks, make it easier for Tesla owners to go anywhere with their car and not have to think the other way. Because right now there are more CCS plugs in the ground than Tesla plugs. It's just the Tesla plugs are strategically in better places at this point.
No, That's not true. That's not correct. There are not more CCS heads than there are Tesla supercharger heads.
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere because it's heavily weighted into like California urban areas, that there's a lot of EVgo charge points.
I know I know you're not correct on that one. I know you're not correct on that one. I can't tell you why. I don't know why you're not right on that. Hold on. Because I've been working on this project for a while, for a series on my channel. And I actually had to ask, and I actually was looking at this. So the DOE did a report in June of last year, 2020. And there are 5,106 CCS chargers, CCS heads. There are 3,993 CHAdeMO heads. That's out of 2,376 stations. Interestingly, there are more CHAdeMO. There are still, at that point in June, this is probably overtaken now because, you know, no one's, the CCS, except in California, CCS is being killed by Electrify America if they're moving forward. Oh, imagine all those leaves that are going to get trapped in Wyoming. So 2,376 CCS charging stations, 2,608 CHAdeMOs, 5,106 charging heads, just under 4,000. And the answer is Tesla supercharger numbers, USA. Interesting. Interesting. 908. Now, even if there's 908 stations in the USA, worst case scenario, everyone's got a minimum of 4, even like the little ones in Wyoming where they've got 4. That still puts you at 4,000. And that's before you.
The average is probably 6 or 8.
Well, and that's before you get to the, you know, the big ones like Button, Kettleman, Harris Ranch. And I know there's much more big ones. I've got to say, I think Tesla owns this one, I'm afraid, my friend. I think, but more importantly, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. You know, I don't think anyone's disagreeing that this isn't the future. While we're talking about Tesla, we commented on this. You know, big news when we did the last one that Hertz had purchased 100,000 Model 3s, or have they? Just speaking purely as a chief marketing officer, I'm not allowed to sign up Tom Brady for a commercial until we actually have the product ready to ship. Especially, and then have him shoot the commercial, then pay money to air the commercial until you've got the vehicles. I do think it's interesting. I mean, you know, Tesla's got the whip hand on this one. They said they're not discounting. There was no bulk discount for 100,000 because they don't have a demand issue. They have a production issue.
I just think this is another case of another company wanting to use their idea of electric car purchases as a marketing tool to make them look like a green company. I think Ford is guilty of this. Of every commercial on any major sporting events shows the Lightning and the Mach-E and the Transit van, all of which are out of stock pretty much everywhere because, well, the Lightning's not even being produced for another year at least. So they're just using it as a tool to show that they're a green company. By the way, come buy a Ford F-150 hybrid for 0% right now. You know,
I will just keeping my marketing hat on just for a few seconds on this one, say no. I'm disagreeing a lot with you today. I notice this is interesting. But the reason I'm saying that is your sometimes you don't want people to buy something else. If I can keep you wanting that F-150 Lightning, you won't order a Hummer. Sometimes
True.
I just want to keep your commitment, and that has real value, especially with vehicles where people tend to keep them for a period of time, and also they'll give first, sort of what we call first privilege, to the existing brand that they have. I know that I would, I look at an ID7 before I looked at a Hummer. Ooh, pardon me. But yeah, Bill Hicks had it right. Kill all the marketing people. Oh, that's
What do
clever,
you
Bill.
think,
You're going for the kill the marketing people dollar. That's good. That's good money.
what angle do you think Hertz gets out of this deal on advertising a car that they're not going to have for quite some time to come?
They have them at a few strategic locations. Obviously, the ones where the money is, they have them, and they've got the infrastructure. I saw them at Dallas or Austin. I can't remember which one I saw them at, but they had them there. And that's also, come and look, we've got those. And by the way, if they have $150 a day, then maybe you're just going to rent a Camry. Oh, you know what? I know we said we wouldn't do this, and my God, this is going to be a long podcast, but whatever. Should we see if we can rent a Hertz? If we can rent a Tesla, my friend. Let's go.
From Hertz? Yeah, I think it probably have been. I think it was Austin, is what you said the first time.
Well, I'm gonna go with the places I know, which is LA. And the reason I'm saying that is because I figure they're going to be. Apparently, I can't get a car in LA on November the 5th. So let me just try the 17th and rent it for. Avis wouldn't rent me a car week after next because I wanted it one way and only for 2 days from LAX to San Diego. I'm not seeing a Tesla in Los Angeles. Did they ever select a Hertz Tesla rental? Reserve a Model 3. Oh, they have a dedicated page for it. Interesting.
That's what, yeah, I just found that. It says, so the free charging is only through February 1st of 2022 that they're offering if you rent now.
Joe, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I wonder if they have any mileage limitations on these things. Oh, no, John. You can't do that. Yes, I can. Right, where else? San Francisco. Let's see. This may be getting cut out of this may not go into the actual thing, by the way. I've got a sneaky suspicion if you're hearing this, then it worked. If not, we didn't. San Francisco has got a Hertz Hendrick Camaro SS, but it has a Mercedes CLA 45 AMG, but it does not have. And interesting, you can rent a 12-seat passenger van, i.e. the thing I have outside. That'll cost you $2,000 a week as opposed to the You know what, Joe? I'm not seeing it in a. It doesn't appear to.
I saw they want you to give your
Oh,
email to see when it
I
hits
got
your
it. The government of San Francisco, and they're out and available on those dates.
So now just pick a date arbitrarily in the middle of a week, a couple months from now.
That, funny enough, is exactly where I'm going right now. So let's make it. You know what? Maybe I want to take one to. I'm going to Palm in the early part of the year. So let's see if I can get one then. No, apparently I can't. Well, we will come back to this, and I will see how messy this gets.
They're probably all reserved by YouTubers right now, making videos saying what it's like to rent a Tesla on Hertz.
If they don't put a mileage limit on that. And they're not long range. It says they're 260, so they're standard range plus vehicles. So
right.
that's they're limited to like 150 kilowatt charging anyway.
But still, you can get a standard range plus across the country at a similar time as our ID4s.
I'm going to say no on that. God, I'm disagreeing with you on everything today.
They have more chargers, so you can ride the charging curve a little better with them.
Again, I disagree with you. And my reason for that is they have a much more severe taper than our cars. Ours will hold 100, 90, and 80 kilowatt charging deeper into the pack than the standard plus chemistry allows.
I do agree there.
And the only reason I know this is because, and by the way, this is not real data. I met a chap somewhere on 80. What a surprise. Can't remember where it was now. It had to be near Elko. And he was yeah, I think it was Elko. And he was heading up to Twin Falls. And he was having to do nearly 98% charge to get to his next place. And that was the thing, is that it was taking him so long to charge because the taper was so severe at the end. Anyway, we'll find out. We spent way too much. I might actually have to edit this one, my friend. Normally I just throw the audio up, but I think on this occasion we may need to do some editing. One last thing before we get to the thing, which is they've stopped making bolts again for 3 weeks.
Well, all of them around here are sitting on dealer lots, not allowed to be sold because they're still dealing with that battery issue. So
same here. And now there's a number of car parks won't let you go in them. You don't
I've seen that.
You know, I'll take them into multi-story car parks in San Jose that are owned by the city. I thought it was just the airport, but no, it wasn't. All right, we're gonna. Okay, so one thing before, and I'll just find my Twitter at regular EV Dad. I'm going to put the pictures up there in a minute. So San Francisco Airport built new extended stay parking, long-term parking, 5-story lot. And in it is a shed ton of EV chargers. I mean, an absolute shed ton. It's all charge points. They run at a lower value. So they go up to 6, but they basically shared them. So they charge as low as 0.5 kilowatts, but it's long-term parking. So this isn't, leave it for one day and come back. Those of us that use this car park in the past, before they built this new extended bit, there was a handful of chargers, and they actually had plugs you could plug in, and you saw all that way of people plugging in their granny chargers and then hooking the cable through the corner of the trunk lid to stop it being stolen and things like that. You had cables, you know, the only ones that had chargers were near the elevators. And I used them myself a couple of times with my little Fiat 500. But when they built this, they went nuts. And there was like 30 chargers on each floor, maybe more than that. I'm not going to Google it right now. I don't know for that today. But I mentioned this because when I got back to my car today, and I've taken pictures and shared them on Twitter a couple of times, I'm always surprised by the range of electric vehicles that we have parking up there. There was Polestar 2s, there was Audis, there was Teslas, obviously, there's a couple of ID4s. Today, parked on the back of where I was a complete bank of Teslas, every Tesla variation, and it was 20 Teslas deep. And this wasn't just the Teslas that annoyed me. Less than half of them were plugged in. They took the damn space, but didn't plug in. It's free charging. You just put your J1772 thing, adapter in if you're a Tesla, and you hit your charge point card, and that's it. And they're taking spaces, and it's one thing to be iced, it's another thing to be moroned.
Actually, many times, I shouldn't say many times, a handful of times I've encountered Teslas parking in EA spots.
Oh, yeah,
a couple of locations around here that the EA spot is actually a good parking spot. So Teslas will pull in. Obviously, they cannot charge there, at least, you know, the DC. So, yeah.
All right, Joe, I'm summoning my strength. Volkswagen. So the Volkswagen CEO is facing a no confidence vote. Now, depending on which version of the press you read, either he has called for a vote of confidence or the board, the country reports the council has now escalated to a board committee review following pressure from the company's workers' council. It basically amounts to putting dice up to a vote of no confidence, even though the board backed his plan for electrification less than a year ago. He has cancelled a trip to the US in order to address the situation. And today he gave a talk to employees amid the review. I'm reading that from Electrek. If a couple of weeks ago, I put a link to it in the thing, and I received it. By the way, I do read the comments and the DMs and the IMs people send me. I did one of my green glow chats very late at night. I was on my way back from a comedy gig, and I was talking about Joe Manchin, and you and I, we've never spoken about it, but we've agreed. We talked about politics briefly, and there's a lot of things you and I probably don't agree on. But the thing we do agree on is about sustainability of you know, the planet. And I talked about Joe Manchin getting in the way of this. And one of the things we forget when we talk about these things is that these things are made by human beings, and human beings have a requirement for dignity, respect, for the ability to pay their bills, to put food on the table, a roof over their kids' head. And my problem with Joe Manchin is that no one wants to be a coal miner. It is entirely appropriate to be proud of your dad, of your pa, for being a coal miner, but no one wants to go into the mine and make their income that way. They'll tell you they do, but they also may not have a huge number of choices. And my family's had this situation. Back in the war, Second World War, my grandfather had the choice. He could either join the Royal Air Force or he could become a Bevan boy. Bevan boy was essentially a conscripted coal miner. black lung is not a benefit to anybody. And the reason I mention this is because the workers are worried that because he's trying to be like Tesla and make electrification the first and last thing the company does, that he'll also pursue ruthless automation, which, by the way, Tesla tried. I don't think if people remember when they had problems with the Model 3, the problem was they tried to have the robots do everything. Turns out people do things better sometimes. Legitimately, they want to protect their jobs, and they don't want, they don't want. One of the issues right now is Volkswagen continues to make more cars. They have all these production lines open. At some point, they're not going to need all those production lines.
That's where I think this kind of stems from. I think all these brands were quick to take the federal funding or whatever grants they could get a hold of to assist in opening a new factory or retooling to add additional staff to make more cars, and in our case, the electric cars. But I think there'll be a lot of trouble when we fast forward down the road and brands start considering going fully electric, like every brand has stated at one point or another that they will eventually be fully electric. The fact is, there's no need for a engine shop, transmission shop, or any of these factories. That how are the unions going to handle all these laborers being put out of work? I don't think it's going to be handled quite well, and that will be quite a big fight down the road.
It will, and that's why it's essential that education is used, because we only have, people need opportunities, but it's even better when people can make opportunities. So while we're on the subject of VW, did you see the ID.5?
Yeah, speaking of education.
Did you see the ID.5?
I did.
Isn't it pretty?
I found out that Volkswagen wasn't lying when they said they were creating a version 3.0 software.
Oh, you thought you'd just steal my thunder, did you? I was gonna segue into it. I was gonna talk about the roof line, about the performance benefits, about the fact that it would also ship with all-wheel drive at the same time. But you just went straight to it, didn't you? You just went, how can I hurt John the most?
So personally, I am not on the fan base of liking these coupe style SUVs. BMW, I think, started this trend. Audi and Mercedes have followed along, and now Volkswagen's following along as well, of giving you less practicality and charging a higher price.
Yes. To be fair to Volkswagen on this one, and I don't feel like being fair, I'll get to that. Don't worry, my soapbox is right there. I'm going to get it out. Don't you worry. They have managed to preserve a good deal of room, but yeah, they have, because you have to. They have compromised the hatch space just a little bit. Look, it's a personal style choice, and it's yeah, we wouldn't have one. You can't put shit in the back. But yeah, not everybody has kids and dogs and everything else, and they want something stylish. And I want something stylish as well. But it ain't going to be the car which I slip all the crap around in. So, it's the case of two vehicles. I still get horny when I see the new Land Rover Defenders, I'm afraid. Like, just... Right,
the boxy shape is where it's at.
Just woof,
Yeah.
Oh, it gives me the...
I dream of the Bronco becoming an electric vehicle someday.
Oh, I don't care. I get that special tingle when I see those Defenders. But yeah, it's a styling choice, and you know what? It's a free market, and if it gets more on the road, great. Look at Mini. Everybody, no one knew why the hell they made the Mini Coupe. I mean, it looked like a bloody baseball cap, not even a helmet. What was the point of going down to 2 seats and keeping a roof? But people bought them. Choice is a good thing if it, if it makes you the profits to reinvest in the business. That's a good thing. But yeah, you kind of touched on it, which was the fact that it had the ID3 software. It had version 3 of the software. So Europe received updates, an OTA update. I think it was 3 months ago.
At least, yeah. And what is that software called? Is that 2.3, right?
2.4.
2.4, okay. And that increased charging at that time as well, right?
No, it didn't. That never happened. 3 months ago,
Okay.
It didn't change the charging curve. It made a couple of things. They actually put a Facebook post out about this, that there are other things that have to be, for them to do that, they need to swap the battery. The 12-volt battery has to be upgraded to do that, and there's going to be a recall notice to do this. But yeah, so this was software. This was 2.3 is the one that is the new one, or 910, and that was released 3 months ago. And they did a load of other updates to the headlights and all sorts of other things. My point is, and they say they're saving all these things up for one big thing. Just do it incrementally. Start the process. I got to the point now where, you know what, just take it down to 75 kilowatt charging. I don't care. For God's sake, make the entertainment system less of a safety issue. I came out the airport this morning and my car was Android Auto was having a thing, and it wouldn't connect to the car. It was having a thing, and then the Bluetooth sound thing went nuts again. I ended up doing a full reset of it. This is ridiculous. It's a safety issue. My boss called me, and just do incremental updates. Stop trying to change everything at once, and understand that we know what's happening in Europe. We have this thing called the internet. Joe and I aren't actually in a house that's painted 2 different colors. We're 1,800 miles apart.
I love our car, but I have to say that I would not be surprised if there's some people that have bought our car back in April around the same time as us, and they see Volkswagen on their soapbox saying, yep, every 12 weeks we will have a software update. And here we are, 9 months later, close to that, 8 months later, and not a single software update has come yet. And you have to think, well, why? I bought this car being under the impression of there would be software updates, and the straight lied to. Like, I don't know what to say.
I'm not happy, and it's not. Commitments were made. Not only that, but it's just the lack of transparency. And then Volkswagen put out a statement on Facebook. Dear ID drivers, in the past few weeks, we received many similar questions on essential topics. We're going to do enhancements to the WeConnect ID app. The fact that they said that the preconditioning timer and activate will work. Something that would be nice. Car Finder would be available to tell us where the car is, which actually, by the way, is actually quite useful when your wife takes your car. Increasing the charging capacity via an OTA update. At the moment, the control units, the ECU responsible, is not yet updatable over the air. However, we are currently preparing a service campaign to which your VW partner will invite you. You will receive a new technically updated 12-volt battery. I'm guessing that they're putting in a lithium-ion battery, or they're moving it to an AGM battery away from the lead-acid one. That's actually more normal than it sounds. They're going to make an ECU change, and that will make it upgradable. But this is in Europe. This is the most litigious country in the world. Why the hell are you ignoring it? And yeah, I spoke dealer friend of mine has actually said that this was meant to have actually, they were told they got a service update that this would be happening shortly, and it didn't. So the safety issue is the thing for me. I call it family EV for a reason. It's about family. And the fact that that entertainment system is so bloody unreliable, and it is a distraction from driving. I just want to increase or decrease the volume. That's it. That is it. And I have to go through the histrionics of having to talk to the car to execute a command, which it can't command, to then default control of the audio system. You know, it freezes up so often. It's a safety issue. And I go backwards and forwards on this one because yeah, I have thought of lemon lawing it. I have thought of starting the process, but if I did that, I don't know what I'd go to. And I'm not lemon lawing something to go to another vehicle. I don't think that's right. Anyway, there you go. Rant over. Not happy. And I will follow through on my threat. Now that I'm back, the weather looks like it might be warmer. My car's going in for a service, for an inspection this week. But I'm going to ask them not to clean it, Joe. When it goes in, I'm going to say, don't clean it. Save that for me. Because now we're down for naked washing time. That's right, people. My fat, hairy ass is going to be gyrating over a VW logo. And I will come up with it even weirder.
There's my red cup.
That's it. I said if it happened, if we got red cups before the OTA update. So I need to talk to our sponsor about this one. So the channel's it's picked up a sponsor, and we're going to announce it shortly. But we had to shoot the videos and just been away. Can't do this stuff when I'm in Dallas, and didn't have a
Can't
car.
do the stuff when it's 30 degrees outside.
Nipple tassel weather, that is, my friend. I'm from the north of England.
Yeah. But this weekend, Monday, we're finally getting warm weather around here, so might be able to film something.
I will post. I will post the LA road trip. There's no road cam on this because I had like an hour's notice, and so I just grabbed the one camera. So it'll be a shorter but more detailed. All the charging data's in there, which I know is what people care about. And good charging the whole way, has to be said, I think. Apart from one problem but that wasn't Electrify America, that was people. Go to BritishJohn.com, and if you're interested in coming to the show, and we're going to do a meet and greet. I am staying after all of the shows. I'm actually staying at hotels nearby, so I'm going to do a meet and greet afterwards for regular EV Dad and for podcast listeners as well. And San Diego, so LA is only $15 a ticket. You have to have proof of vaccination. Don't get into the politics. Just understand it means it's safe for you and those that you go with. It's $15 a ticket. San Diego is only $10 a ticket. And this is a great bunch of comedians, so it's a good night out. And there might be some merch, but I don't think bloody supply problems. So we're working on that. Anything else, Joe?
No, that's it. I think we're pretty well caught up. I think we're definitely over our time.
All right. Well, I'm way over the time. And so let me be clear about this. If this sounds like an edited hodgepodge of miserableness at the end, it's because I had to cut out a chunk in the middle that didn't work. And I can't pretend it never happened. So I'm acknowledging it right now. If you have been, thanks for listening. Please consider subscribing through any of the major podcast forms. And we'll see you at some point in the future.
Take care.